So I've got to say, this is not how we wanted an episode to start. We have, you could argue, a new biggest snake of the club, I've got to say. Harvey Elliott has left the club and he has joined Monaco instead. Hello and welcome back to Hot to the Top. Hope you're all doing well today. But there is a bit of sad news, obviously, to start off today's episode because Harvey Elliott has left the club and I'll sort of tell you about that a little bit more. But on the plus side, I've spent £45 million since last episode, which is an awful lot of money to spend. So look forward to that one. I think we're going to end today's episode better than when we start it. So first things first. The new snake at the club, or not at the club anymore, I should say, Harvey Elliott has left for his minimum fee release clause of £15.25 million, which is a nice bit of profit, obviously, but it is a snaky move because we offered him a contract. When did he move? What's the actual date of the move? It's the 3rd of the 8th, so we're now at the end of the month, so he's moved about a month ago. I offered him a new contract about a week or two after the end of the season, so call that the start of the 6th, start of June. He took about 2 months to stall on a contract, didn't accept his contract for ages, and essentially just waited for Monaco to put a bid in for him to meet that minimum fee release clause. So he could have had a new contract for a long time, but he just never signed it and has left the club instead. Understandably, because he's now on 125 grand per week, we could only offer him to 40 grand a week, which is what we did offer him, but obviously 125 grand is a lot more. So I can understand why he's gone, but the manner in which it's happened, I'm not very happy about. Either way, we build and we move on. So Harvey Elliott, thank you for your incredible season last time out and the first 2 games of this season, which were very good as well. But we've cashed in on you now, technically. I know we didn't want to. We've cashed in on you and we need to build again. A couple other players also left the club as well. Marin has gone to Copenhagen for £2.4 million, which I think is a pretty good deal, so that's a good one to see him go out the club. If we get back onto the transfer screen, Sosa has gone to Independiente in Argentina for £1.8 million, which is more than what we bought him for, so again, that represents good value for money in my opinion for a player that we never really properly used. And we have also sold a youth player, Eugenio Lanz, was never really going to feature in the squad too much, didn't have that great potential, but we've managed to sell him to Basel for an initial fee of 450k, but will rise to £1.3 million if clauses are met, which is pretty good in my opinion. What it means is we've sold a total of £26.5 million worth of player this season, which I think is pretty good going in the grand scheme of things. It also gave us a bit of extra budget, which meant I could spend some more money, and I have spent that money on, well, £45 million worth of player. That's what I've spent it on. So the last time you were here, you saw from Granit Xhaka down to Stereo. Since then, we have signed 5 players and potentially a 6th one is coming in very shortly. I suppose we'll go over the loan signing first. We've signed Neto from Benfica. Obviously, we had Sosa and Marin leave the club and we had to bring someone else in midfield to sort of fill a bit of a gap. Neto has been at the club before a couple seasons ago. Will come in this season as backup mostly, I would say, but still looks like a pretty decent player to be fair, so hopefully we can use him from time to time. Also, with the late departure of Harvey Elliott and I suppose a lack of funds at that point, we've only gone and signed Willian as his replacement, an ageing Willian who's not particularly good, and we've only got him until December when he decides to retire in December. He's 36 years old at the moment, soon to be 37 years old, so really should be retiring soon. After that, we are, at the moment, going to be relying on Billy Schmidt, our regen from last season. So the 16-year-old is probably going to be entered into first-team football earlier than we thought, but he's got 5-star potential, already 2-star current ability. Get him playing nice and early, he'll be up to Harvey Elliott's level in no time. So that was the loan signing and the free signing in Willian, which is, again, a bit mental that we signed Granit Xhaka, James Rodriguez and Willian this season. That's a bit crazy. But of course, what you're interested in is the £45 million worth of players that we've brought in. 3 players specifically. The first one is Lars Jacobs, who we've brought in for £19 million. It's about 6 million up front, 13 in the future and future fees. So we've not fully paid for him yet. Currently 3.5-star current ability with 4-star potential. The scout reports have him a little bit better than that, but it's still pretty good going, I've got to say. Will be very good backup this season to Xhaka and, of course, Randy Schneider. So great to have Lars Jacobs come in. He came in from Heerenveen in Holland. So a good signing for us and played 2 games so far with very good ratings. So it already looks like a great signing. For £11.5 million, we brought in Jerome Bernard, and he is a proper left winger, which is something that we were kind of lacking a little. But we had Tim Wright, but we needed someone else there as well. And this guy is coming in looking pretty decent with 3-star current ability and 4.5 stars of potential, which I like to see. Very physical player with some really good mental attributes as well. And where it matters, these technicals are fantastic. 16 crossing is fantastic, 16 first touch, 12 technique. He looks like a pretty decent player at the age of 19 still, so will develop quite nicely, I think. And then finally, for £12.75 million from our big rivals Young Boys, we have signed Florent Calas, who is a wonder kid goalkeeper. We've actually brought in a decent goalkeeper now. Obviously, I've not actually released episode 1 of this season yet, so I've not seen your reaction to Lunin, but I suspect there's going to be quite a few disgruntled people at that. So to make you feel better, we've brought in a 20-year-old goalkeeper from Young Boys who is a wonder kid as well. 5-star potential, 3-star current ability, the best goalkeeper we've got. And I think he's going to be a fantastic player for us so far. Already kept 2 clean sheets in his 2 appearances, so that's already a pretty good sign, isn't it? Started off at Lausanne before going to Young Boys and has now come to us for quite a significant sum of money after playing quite a few seasons for Young Boys as their first choice. What it means is we do have a bit of a situation with goalkeepers. We've got Colas, we've got Lunin, and we have got Fruchtel, and of course Hunter Ball as well. Ideally, I just want Colas and Hunter Ball. I've tried to sell Fruchtel, no one wants him. I've tried to get him out on loan, and I think Leon came and bid for him, but then they had a transfer embargo and then they couldn't sign him. And then Lunin, no one really wants him at the moment, and he's on, quite a lot of money and is going to sit in the reserves, so it's a little bit frustrating. But when the opportunity came up to sign this guy, I thought we had to take it, so it's what we've gone for. So hopefully you like these transfers that we've made. Hopefully you are a bit more confident in the team this season. You should be confident because so far we have, if I get back to this season, we have won every single game so far this season, which is fantastic. And thankfully, Bottles is on scoring form. So, obviously, you were last here for the 2-0 win over Lausanne. We played 4 games in between episodes. We started off with a 6-2 victory over St. Gallen. Bottles with 2, Schneider with 1, Hamas Rodriguez with 1, Billy Schmitz with 1 on his debut, that was, of course, and Florian Wirtz getting the goal right at the end of that as well. So, fantastic result against St. Gallen. We then battered Young Boys at 3-0 with Calas making his debut against his former club and keeping a clean sheet against him, which is fantastic. Schneider with 2 and Bottles with 1 in that game. That was fantastic. We then had the Swiss Cup first round, played a rotated lineup, and Leon Dajaku with a brace, and Coley got the 3rd in that game to make sure we progress into the next round. The Swiss Cup, incidentally, if we click on to Europe and just go to profile and we go to cup competitions, the Swiss Cup is now the 2nd best cup competition in all of Europe, apparently, eclipsing the Copa del Rey and just behind the FA Cup, which I find mental. So if we manage to get the Swiss Cup to be the best cup competition in all of Europe, that would be mental, even more mental. So good going for us. Not that I think it actually means anything, but it is quite cool to have it as number 2 in all of Europe right now. After that, though, we had a 5-0 thrashing of Luzerne. Bottles with a hat-trick, Lars Jacobs with a goal as well, and new signing Jerome Bernard with the final one in that game, which was good going in a very, very convincing result, I've got to say. Obviously, as you would expect, 5 league wins from 5 league games. We sit top of the table on 15 points. Importantly, though, we've scored 19 and only conceded 3 goals. So already this season, the signings are working very well. Despite selling Harvey Elliott, we are scoring goals, doing very well. And the new goalkeeper is keeping clean sheets, and the new defenders are keeping clean sheets as well, pretty much. So I'm very pleased with how performing so far this season. So moving on into the meat of today's episode, I suppose. Champions League, that's what we're here to talk about today. We've just been given £13 million for qualifying for the group stage, because obviously we enter at the group stage, which is quite nice. It means that our bank balance is currently £26.3 million, which I think is pretty good going. Projection-wise is not great, but I think if we have a good season in the Champions League and stuff, that will all sort itself out. And of course, because we're on the topic of Champions League, the Champions League group stage draw is here. We are currently the 3rd seed for it as well, which is pretty good going. And actually, this is the chance to check if like Basel and Young Boys manage to qualify for the Champions League group stages. Basel have done as a 1st seed, which is very impressive. Young Boys, they must be a 2nd seed, but not in the 2nd seeds. Or the 3rd seeds, or the 4th seeds, which is a little bit annoying. So we'll check out what the other European clubs or the other clubs in Europe have got on with. First of all, though, the Champions League draw. We'll draw the first 2 teams in each group and decide which one we ideally want to be in. We can't be in Group H because Basel are there, so that's something to think about as well. These groups look very difficult to start off with, I'm not going to lie to you. Man United, I think, actually, if you look at the history of this, Man United lost the final last year to Man City. Imagine what a final that would be. So we don't really want to be in that group, although Schalke could be a decent chance for us to go through. So maybe I'm leaning towards being in Group D. Obviously, we had a good time last season against Roma. We played against Bayern Munich last season, did well against them. So hopefully Borussia Dortmund could do something like that. So maybe Group F or Group D right now. But let's keep drawing the sides and see where we end up. We end up in Group C with Liverpool and Juventus, which is a pretty tough draw, I've got to say. The final teams to be drawn as well, Rosenborg on to Group A. I would like, out of all those teams, probably Stade Rennais or PSV or Anderlecht. I feel like they are the easiest sides. Maybe even Copenhagen as well. I don't mind too much, to be fair. We get Stade Rennais, which is actually quite a nice one. I think they're the lowest ranked side in terms of coefficient left in the competition. So that was quite good. So that's our Champions League group. Liverpool, Juventus, Grasshoppers and Stade Rennais. Off the bat, I would say we are probably going to come third in that group, but we said that last season. We said third or fourth last season. We ended up winning the group, didn't we? So who knows what's going to happen, but that's going to be a tough group. What it means is, in today's episode, we are not going to do the Chiasso game. Obviously, the plan was to do the Champions League game, the first one, and we are going to do the Juventus game after the Zurich game. Obviously, I'll play the Chiasso game off camera because who cares about a Swiss Cup second round fixture? Well, actually, probably quite a lot of people, considering it is the second best cup competition in all of Europe, apparently. Also, what's been pretty interesting, plenty of clubs are bidding for Gauther at the moment. Up to £11.25 million for Gauther, who, incidentally, is still labelled as a wonder kid, despite only having 4.5 stars of potential. I suppose a wonder kid is anyone with over 150 potential who's under 21 years old. So actually, he's technically a wonder kid still, even if he has only got 4.5 stars of potential, as long as that potential is over 150 out of 200. We are going to reject this, obviously, because we are trying to sort of push the price up a little bit. But if like a big bid comes in for Gauther, I'm not going to turn it down because we've still got Jordan Boone at the club, who's still very, very good. If clubs start offering like 20 million plus for Gauther, I'm probably going to take it. If we actually look at the media description of our squad, we actually have 4 wonder kids. We've got Bernard, who obviously we signed this summer with the money we got from whatever he's called, Harvey Elliott. Also Kalas, who we signed with the money from Harvey Elliott as well. So Kalas is also a wonder kid. Matthew Bottles is the wonder kid, as is Gauther. So actually, we've got rid of 1 wonder kid in Harvey Elliott, but brought 2 in. So actually, it's kind of a good deal. Anyway, I have really dragged this on so far. I'm already apparently 20 minutes into recording, and we've not got to a game yet. So this is the team for the derby against Zurich. We've got Class in goal, obviously, because he is Class, which is good stuff. And we've got Gauther, Augusto, Sterigu, and Cruz as that backline, which probably is going to be the backline most of this season. We've got Granit Xhaka and Schneider in that midfield. We've got Bernard on the left-hand side, Willian on the right-hand side temporarily until, of course, he leaves the club to retire. And then we've got, of course, our 16-year-old coming through, Alex Smith in that attacking playmaker role, and Bottles leading the line for us. Our £19 million record signing at the moment is sort of stuck to the bench because he doesn't really fit in with these two. I mean, he is actually better than Schneider in that position technically in terms of suitability, but his star level isn't quite as good. So unless we took Smith out of the squad and put Schneider there, it's a little bit of a... I'm not quite sure how to fit it in just yet, but it's something to think about a little bit. Right, this is actually mental. Before I've even had a chance to say kickoff is upon us, Sterigu has picked up 2 yellow cards. I literally was just about to say... and kickoff is upon us. I was just sort of looking at my phone, looked up at the screen. He's been sent off. What has just happened there? I mean, what a way to start off a derby. It means straight away Smith has got to come off the pitch. We've got to put Afonso at the back. I mean, it's really not ideal, that. That must be he picked up a yellow card in the first minute and then a second yellow card in the 4th minute and then got sent off. That is ridiculous. Before I even had a chance to say kickoff is upon us. That's pretty crazy as Schneider's shot goes wide. We have now got our backs up against the wall today. Felipe Cruz then puts it into Schneider, who seems to be at the centre of everything right now, puts the cross into our new winger, Jerome Bernard, and he puts it in the back of the net. Despite being a man down, we are 1-0 up, which is absolutely fantastic against our big rivals. Weird camera angle this one as it gets back to a slightly more normal one as Schneider literally puts the ball on a plate for Bernard, who just nonchalantly heads that into the top corner. You love to see it. So hopefully we can just sort of sit back now and just watch this game go by. We win it 1-0. I don't really want too many highlights because I want this episode to finish. I don't want it to go on for too long, although Zurich coming forward, good save from Kalas to try and keep that clean sheet record going. We've got another chance though. We, despite having 10 men, are dominating today's game as Schneider on the ball into Xhaka. Xhaka out to Felipe Cruz. Felipe Cruz, can he do something clever with it? Not really, as he plays it back towards Granit Xhaka. Schneider out to Bernard again. Bernard who can put the ball in the middle. Williams there, his first of the season, 2-0. So half-time comes around and we are 2-0 up despite being down to 10 men. I think that is a fantastic reflection on how good actually the signings we've made this summer have been. Schneider coming forward with the ball. Can he get it through to Bottles at some point? Not quite yet, as Bernard looks to put the ball in the middle. Williams waiting, gets his second of the season, the second of the game. 3-0. Beautiful. Can we even grab a fourth as Felipe Cruz to put the ball into the middle, gets it in the middle. Bernard, denied by a fantastic save from a Zurich goalkeeper there as they managed to get it clear, but only as far as Xhaka. Gauther can't do anything with it apparently because the highlight ends. But let's make some changes very quickly. Gauther's looking complacent, so Boone can come on for him. And let's give Neto a run out there as well for... Or should we? No, let's bring Lars Jacobs on for Schneider. Let's give him a go. We need to sort of work a way out to get... 4 players into 3 midfield spots. That's kind of how we need to work out how to do it, which obviously someone's got to drop out at some point. I mean, obviously, rotation, that's the way we can do it, rotation. But I'm not a... You know by now that I'm not a massive fan of rotation and things like that. I like to keep things pretty similar. As Willian looking to get a hat-trick, gets an assist instead as Bernard puts in the back of the net for his second of the game, his third of the season, and the fourth of the Grasshoppers game, which is good. Felipe Cruz with a dangerous ball into Willian, who just literally puts that into the correct area, behind the defence, in front of the keeper. It's going in the back of the net one way or the other, and it's gone in through Jerome Bernard. Jacobs coming forward once again into Bottles once again. Come on, lad. Loses possession, but wins it back into Bernard, who grabs a hat-trick today. 5-0. Can we play Zurich every week with only 10 men? Remember, we were down to 10 men in 5 minutes of today's game. This has been... incredible. What a performance from the boys. Are there still more goals in today's game? The ball forward not brilliant, and here comes Zurich on a bit of a counter-attack. Or the ball back to the keeper. No pressure from Bottles there actually in the end. The keeper has now got time to do what he wants. Clears it only as far as Zurich players actually. Zurich still look to come forward with the ball, looking to grab a consolation goal. Alfonso gets in the way, but number 12 is still coming forward into there. Number 31 who puts it over the bar. And that in the end was full time. A 5-0 drubbing of our local rivals. You love to see it. 6 games into the new season and we already have a 7-point lead over Luzerne. You love to see it. Now, as it turns out, we've actually got international break before the Cup game and then the Champions League game. So I'm going to go sort of off camera and do the international break, play Chiasso off camera, and then I'll see you for the Juventus game. So see you shortly. Okay. Right. Well, it's not quite the game yet because Lyon have made a non-negotiable offer of £46 million for Randy Schneider, which the board have accepted on our behalf. It's 34 million up front with instalments of 11.5 million, which is a lot of money. The thing is, we would have accepted £40 million from Blackburn if he wanted to go to Blackburn, but he didn't go. This is the bigger offer which the board have accepted. It's an offer we can't really refuse. £46 million for such a good player. That's the thing as well. The thing is, he turned down Blackburn, and I rejected a couple offers already before this. And in those offers, it said Randy Schneider's not interested in going to any other club. So we'll see how it sort of pans out because it's deadline day today. We've also signed one more player. I'll let you know about that. It's nothing special. It's just Cyrus Christie to come in as a backup right-back player because I am terrified that essentially the only good right-back we've got is Cruz. We've even got a 1.5-star current ability player behind him, and he's injured or has been injured very recently, and I had just a terrible thing in my head that he was going to be injured or be like cup tied or couldn't play the game because he played for the under 18s at the same time as Cruz is suspended. That's very likely to happen, so I thought we had to get someone else in there to just add a bit of oomph. Here we go. You love to see it. Randy Schneider has snubbed Lyon. Again, he's only on £9,000 here. Lyon must be offering him so much money, but Schneider does not want to leave the club. Honestly, £46 million, we could really do with that money. We could really, really do with that money. Because that would be fantastic to have that much money, but Schneider doesn't want to go. Come on, lad. And finally, we are here for the game against Juventus. Taken a while to get here, but we're finally here. We won the cup game 4-0. Wirtz, Adajaku, Brace, and Bottle scoring the goals in that one. As expected, a dominant victory. And this is the line that we're going to go for against Juventus. We're at home today, so we're going to stick with the same formation that we usually go for because it's worked well so far this season. And when we played at home against teams in the Champions League last season, it worked pretty well too. So, as per usual, Kalas in goal. Gauther is paired up with Bajrami because Augusto's picked up a knock. Sterigu is in there as well alongside Cruz. Xhaka and Lars Jacobs in the midfield today because I'm trying something out where Randy Schneider is going to be our advanced playmaker. Smith dropped to the bench for now. Bernard and Willian on both wings and Bottles leading the line. That's the lineup. We're going to see how this sort of works out in that bit of rotation that I was talking about earlier on. Right then, kickoff is upon us here today. Juventus, or Zebri as they're called in game, because obviously licensing reasons. I think we can get a good result here today. I'm not going to lie to you. I think we can get a result. I mean, it's a team with Dybala in it, Rabiot, Jorginho, De Ligt at the back as well. It's a good team. So I think we could get a good result, and by that I mean a draw. But as we saw last season, we can beat teams in European competitions at home. So we'll see what happens here today. Juventus are, I'd say, a different kettle of fish, though, to, of course, the Bayern Munich and the Portos and the Romas that we faced last season. I think they're a bit of a step up from all of those clubs, I would imagine, as they come forward early on. Good save from Kalas. To be fair, so far it's been a pretty quiet game with minimal highlights. Already 27 minutes into it, and this is only the second highlight of the game so far as Cruz puts the ball up to Matthew Bottles. Come on, lad. Szczesny, he was still going. He must be quite old in game now. Keeps that ball out of the back of the net. How old is Szczesny? We'll look at him in a second. Just see how old he is. As Felipe Cruz puts the corner in. Bottles running towards it. Can't get his head on it. And it's cleared up to Dybala, who seems to be through almost one-on-one with the defender. Gets it across to his number 11, who puts it in the back of the net. Now, that was a counter-attack and a goal we gave away too softly, really. Both the defender and Kalas should have better with that one, really. We'll watch the replay sort of come through. Dybala gets the ball across. He should do better defending, and really, that's a very soft goal to concede. Instantly, though, there is another highlight, so hopefully we get back on level terms with Juventus. Bernard gets on the end of Kalas's ball. Gauther gets it into Bajram. They're both on yellow cards, which you love to see, as Xhaka into Bernard. Bernard up to Bottles again. Come on, Bottles. This time, score it for us. Szczesny again, making that all-important save. Szczesny is 34 years old, so not actually as old as I thought he was going to be, but still getting on a bit. Half-time then, 1-0 down. Good news for us, Liverpool are 3-0 up against Stade Rennais, so at least we're not bottom of the group yet. Well, I think by looks of things, we're going to be fighting for third place with Stade Rennais. We got very lucky last season, I've got to say, as Bottles puts that, he bottles it and puts it wide. We got very lucky last season with, obviously, us beating a couple of the teams around us in the Champions League, but all of the other teams beat each other, which limited the amount of points they could get, and we got very lucky capitalising on that. I don't think that's going to happen this season. I think Juventus and Liverpool are going to be too strong, although Granit Xhaka, with a pile driver into the top corner, levels things up for us in the 56th minute. What a finish. Good assist for Bottles as well, gets it off to Xhaka, who just shoots on the edge of the area, and Szczesny can't do anything about it. I think we will probably make a couple of changes out there. And the good thing about this is Schneider on a 6.4, so maybe he's not really the player to play in that position, although he's currently rated at 4.5 stars in that position. The good thing about this is we can now take him off and bring Alex Smith on, who is incredible. Same sort of thing with Florian Wirtz. We can bring him on for, where is he? Lars Jacobs, who's not played very well either. We've got two really good central midfielders coming into the fray. And then on top of that, we have also, if we need to use him, James Rodriguez as well. In fact, perhaps we should have brought him on for a big game like this. He's probably used to playing games like this. And in fact, we might do that in just a second. We might take Willian off, but Bottles is through. Bottles, to make it 2-1 to us, puts it just wide. For the final few moments then, we are going to bring James Rodriguez on the right-hand side for Willian. Imagine that. You take Willian off and bring on James Rodriguez. What a substitution that is, and something I never thought I'd say when I started this hop to the top save, but we're saying it now as Bottles. You know what? We look to be the better side at the moment. I've got to say, we look to be the better side as James Rodriguez gets it across to Bernard. Alex Smith putting it just over, and looking at the stats, I hadn't seen this, 17 shots to 10 shots. We have been the better side. I mean, I'd take a draw. Like I said, I would take a draw definitely against a side of Juventus' calibre as they come forward, putting it just wide. But considering that we've been the better side here today in terms of chances created, we could maybe feel a little bit hard done by that we haven't picked up the win. We have got a few minutes of added time, and Kalas with a goal kick. What's he going to do with it? Hopefully nothing stupid as he plays it to Sterigu, gets out to Xhaka. Good ball that one is. Xhaka coming forward with it. Bernard on the ball, up to Bottles. This is the chance now. Bottles. Oh, he's had so many chances today, Bottles. It's one of those games, though, where you just can't put it in the back of the net. But will definitely take a 1-1 draw with Juventus. So I must say, I am pretty pleased with how that's gone. You know what? I'm pretty pleased. I think we can take a lot of pride from today's episode. Next time out, I reckon we go for the Liverpool game, the away game at Liverpool, and then we do St. Gallen after that as well. I think that kind of makes a bit of sense. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. I hope you have enjoyed it, because I certainly have done. And if you have done, make sure you do drop a like on the video for me and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. I'll see you next time, so have a good one. Goodbye.